Hello, everyone, and welcome to the series finale of the Monte and Wolf Show. I'm dGon. That's Wolf. Still no Monte. Still no name change. But coming soon. Coming soon, Wolf, as we kick off the 2026 LCK season with the LCK Cup. And it was a nice break. We had a nice break. I got engaged.
Nice, congrats,
my
yeah.
longtime girlfriend. Yeah.
Long-time girlfriend, how long was it?
It was only September 9th, so of 2024. I remember the date because 9/9 really easy. It's same number. So what is that? 14 months?
That's
15
like
months?
13, 14, 15, yeah.
Yeah, a year and a quarter. Like, is that long? Is that a long time? Is that a short time? I feel like it's a short
I don't
time,
think it's
right?
like that. It's not that short, but like I know a lot of, like, for example, in Korea, a lot of people get married after like dating for less than 6 months, and I'm like, whoa, are you sure? That's a little early, but I feel like you're not that early. But when you said long-time girlfriend, I was like, well, you just moved here. In my mind, I'm just teasing you. Congrats, man. I know I've already said congrats to you, but it's an exciting new chapter in your life.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're enjoying the wedding planning and not getting extremely stressed out. It's totally fine. Everything's going well, and you guys haven't had even a single argument about it. Surely it's going great.
Wolf hit it right on the head. Absolutely.
Perfect. There's no issues.
no issues to speak of. But I like to bring that up because she has become she did not watch League beforehand, and since then she has become an LCK aficionado, and she will translate the YouTube shorts that get posted daily. There are YouTube shorts that are made by fans that get translated and put up about not only like the day of action, but each game. They'll like be like it'll be each game and like what Hoopu says and then what Korean fans will say about it. So she's helped become a source and translator of what Korean fans share and has been a pretty great part of this journey. So yeah, that was my big thing. You got to cast Kespa Cup and see firsthand a lot of these off-season moves. We also got to see some of the academy products from certain teams. But yeah, how was your off-season?
It was pretty good. Kespa Cup was fun. It was nice to get a little like kind of teaser preview of what we might see, and yeah, I mean, my off season was mostly just being a dad and doing some Kespa Cup stuff. So nothing like super exciting in terms of like going on a big trip or anything like that. Like, it was just kind of a calm, quiet little off season, and honestly kind of a nice change of pace for me. So my off season in the past, sometimes a lot of traveling, a lot of you know just like doing a bunch of stuff and getting like super deep into something during the off season, like even potentially a new hobby or something like that. But it's been very quiet for me.
Hashtag girl dad. Also Dark Souls. You did a lot of Dark Souls.
Yeah, I mean, I started I started Dark Souls 3 at the beginning of December, I want to say, or maybe like halfway through December, and I was hoping I could beat it to put it on my list of like 2025 games, but it's a Dark Souls game and I'm a dad, so it's taken me a while. I'm actually like, I think, on the second to last boss right now, which is like the two princes that you fight. And I know this boss fight is not that hard, but for some reason I don't. I know there's an exploit, and I know somebody in the chat's gonna be, somebody in the comments gonna be like, look, you just, if you trap him in the wall, he only does the same attack over. I know about the exploit, but like, I don't want to beat it that way. It feels kind of, I don't know. Dark Souls to me is a little bit like, I don't really want to cheat it. But like, I've been basically every day for about like 20 minutes. I like fight the boss like 5 times, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll try again tomorrow because I don't have time. I'll move on. But I've really enjoyed the game. Dark Souls 2 is my favorite, but Dark Souls 3 is really fun.
Let's see, a couple other off LCK things to touch on. You started the season in solo queue 3-0. You were cruising through it here because here in Korea we had the whole ranked snafu where like Woodid and Ox, who are like super high rated did their placements. Also, we had LCK pros that did their placements, and for whatever reason, it treated their accounts like they were brand new, fresh accounts. Aiming finished in Iron, I think it was. It started the season in Iron. He did his placements, finished in Iron. And who else? Who was it? Lucid was in Silver. Like the Korean server broke.
It was really quite silly because of the system being broken, and people kind of knew about it, and yet for some reason kept playing the game. Like, this was the craziest thing to me. Like, yes, Riot made a big mistake here, and it was very unfortunate for those who got on the wrong end of it, and like still haven't actually, like, Riot said they're gonna fix it, but they still haven't fixed it to my knowledge, unless it happened like this morning. Haven't fixed it yet. But like, everyone was literally tweeting about this, talking about this. It was like the front page of the internet. Like, more than, oh, I really enjoy the quests, was like, ranked is broken, Riot screwed it up again. And everyone's like, you know what I'm gonna do? Is spam ranked games and then get into Iron. It's almost like people wanted this to happen. Like, so I really have like almost no sympathy for people who were literally texting about how ranked was broken while queuing ranked and are still telling me about it today. Like, oh, my rank is still bad. I'm like, come on, you guys knew about this. It will be fixed. I think what Riot will do is, you know how in the past they'd have like a small reset where like you'd play one game and then, you know, get moved in whenever they change their system. They'll probably do something like that where it's like, oh, play one placement game, and then it'll put you where your MMR actually is and not what your rank is. It was such a reminder to me of like how the ranked grind is for so many people, because in StarCraft I was like constantly a grinder. Every time a new season starts, I'm like, gotta get into Masters, gotta rush. Like, I'm playing constantly nonstop. But now that I'm old and tired and like don't care about ranked at all, like in terms of my rank or like in any game, like I'm just like, okay, I see these people care, and they like care so much in the race to like trying to get the highest possible rank that like they can't even stop themselves from playing for a few hours because of the bug that's going on. I played a lot of games because I wanted to learn the new patch, and like, you know, also obviously I got the challengers because it's broken. So
Success. Yeah. I just, if you haven't experienced it yet, and I'm pretty sure everyone that's watching this podcast has, but maybe not. Maybe we have a lot of unranked players. If you get auto-filled support, you do not lose LP if you are moderately or a human or auto-filled. It doesn't have to be support, but here in Korea it is support. And if you win, you get double LP. And I am now a autofill main. Like, I love it. I love it. I am climbing so fast after playing so much AD carry. Playing support is so easy, and I'm winning, and there's no punishment if I lose because I'm trying. That's what I wanted. So hopefully the system works. Hopefully it works for
the system is totally broken. I think the autofill system is a big problem, but it gets people to play the role, right? It's working for you. And you know what? Maybe a lot of people are trying to abuse the system and autofill into support and finding out like how important support is. You know, like maybe like you actually, your AD carry just keeps winning because you're actually playing support well. Or if you're not climbing and you're autofilling support, like, oh yeah, support's a little bit harder than you might have thought, but it looks like it's working well for dGon. I think this system will not last long term because eventually it will create like the opposite problem where people are like trying to autofill and like other roles are having issues, and also it's at the higher ranks, it's actually causing problems where people are like trying to autofill into support and games are being lost by it because like some dude is playing support who has no idea how to play the role to try to get free points, and like games are being super lopsided for it. Anyway, I have had a lot of people tell me they're really enjoying abusing the system. I've had a lot of people who are high-level ranked players saying they really hate how the system is being abused because it is ruining their ranked games. So I've seen both sides of the coin.
I bet on the other side, because I'm on the lower side of the bell curve. I bet on the other side I can see how it isn't great. But for me, it's awesome. If you are not diamond, I think you should play some ranked, put in the most popular roles, get autofilled support, and feel what it's like to play ranked solo queue with minimal to no punishment as long as you aren't trolling. It is a very unique feeling after playing this game for a decade. All right. That's my rant on all the autofill stuff to kick things off. Before we get into the LCK, which is why we're here. 2026 LCK had a lot of different moves and different players in different places. You and I touched on it. We knew throughout the offseason, everyone was waiting to see where Viper went. Viper decides to head back on over to the LPL. That started this chain reaction across the league ecosystem, specifically with, okay, well, where is Guma going? Who's T1 getting? Who do they want? So Pay's there, Guma over to Hanwha Life Esports to fill that spot. Kanavi coming home. A lot of different moves here, Wolf, just between the top teams, but also all the way down. A couple of other players coming back from the LPL. When you think about Taeyun, Ohm coming back to coach, Scout coming back. What are some of the moves that jumped out at you in the offseason?
I mean, obviously getting the Chinese player, the LPL players back. Kanavi, Scout were the big ones for me. Taeyun, I had heard rumors like he was doing well, that he was doing very well over in the LPL, and I had seen some of the clips, right? And I watch LPL tangentially. Obviously, we talk about this a lot, but like I can't. LPL is the hardest region for me to watch because it's happening simultaneously most of the time with the LCK, so it's really difficult for me to watch it. And I have people like giving me info, and when I hear about new picks and stuff like that, I generally know, even if I didn't watch it live. And if someone shows me like, oh yeah, Dusk and Dom got played by Jax, like I'll go watch a VOD or something and see how it went. But I didn't see Taeyun doing that well, but I heard about it. Is the TLDR on that one. And then he played in Kespa Cup and he did not do well at all. And we were like, oh, okay. And then I was introduced to the Boo meme. And for those of you guys who didn't hear about this, when we talked about this on Pocket State last time around, the meme about Taeyun is that, like Boo from Mario, if you guys are familiar with the platformer Super Mario Brothers, or Super Mario Bros. World, where I think Boo is first introduced, if you look at Boo, the enemy, he disappears. Okay, he just ceases to exist and doesn't, or you could see like he's transparent, but he's there, right? Yeah. And he doesn't move, and he essentially disappears. If you look away, then he chases you. It's a very cool like enemy concept, because like, oh, ghosts are scary. They only come after you while you can't see them, like that type of idea. Taeyun has the meme in Korea that he disappears when Koreans are watching him. So if you look at him, if Koreans are looking at him, he disappears, like he becomes irrelevant, like his skill is gone. But when Koreans aren't paying attention, like when he's playing in the LPL, then he actually plays well. People hear about it, like, oh yes, he's doing very well over there. That's what I heard. But I wasn't watching, of course. And so that's when he appears and becomes like a scary thing. It's like, oh, is Taeyun getting good? Is he actually a threat? And then he comes back to Korea, we start watching him again, and he does not do as well. I think that he played much better yesterday in Nongshim's most recent game against Hanwha, but otherwise, relatively disappointing performance from him. Kanavi was one of the big moves that everyone was very excited about because he's a very innovative jungler. He's got his own LPL style. He played for Team Korea and was able to get his military exemption, so he's a very specifically unique player in that regard. And so like if he continues to be a top jungler because he has military exemption, unlike Peanut, who he replaced, he can play potentially forever in the LCK, which is very cool. So a big pickup for Hanwha Life Esports. I think Hanwha Life Esports had to spend a lot of money this season to get what they wanted, and it's similar to last year where they were able to acquire Zeus, right? And we know that they've tried to get Carrier in the past as well. They are really, it's hilarious because if for those who don't know, back in like 2022, the Hanwha Life Esports like GMs and top management were like crying loudly foul, like it's not fair that the top teams can spend so much money, like it's just not sustainable. And like they had a horrible team in 2022. They were like bottom of the table, like worst team in the LCK. Like that was the Karis roster, and they were like, I just don't think this is sustainable. The top teams shouldn't be able to spend this much money. We need to implement a salary cap as soon as possible. Like Hanwha was the biggest pusher. And this is, it's so interesting to me. I was watching this happen because Hanwha Life and Hanwha, the organization, like the company, is one of the biggest companies in Korea. Its wealth is enormous. Yeah, massive company here. It's just one subsection of a company that like makes weapons and also like is involved in like so many different forms of the economy. So Thou after all of that, after we got the salary cap, they're like, yeah, I'll break the salary cap. I'm like going to get everybody I can. I'm going to get the most expensive roster possible every time. I'm going to keep Zeka every year. We're also going to get Viper. Oh, we lost Viper. Like, let's get Guma. We're trying to get Keria also. And like our jungler, we're going to get Kanavi. We're going to convince him to move back to Korea. Luckily, they were able to, because if they didn't, there was like nobody to get. It would have been like, we have 4 Hanwha players and a challengers jungler or something like that. So they were very fortunate they were able to get Kanavi.
If we're talking free agents, the name that was being floated around was Sponge, right? Wasn't it? It was Sponge potentially for Gen G if they didn't re-sign Canyon. Sponge potentially for Hanwha if they didn't get Kanavi. Like it was Sponge stocks up. And maybe after this week's games, Sponge stocks up, still going up as the Noodle Boys were able to beat them. We'll dive into that a little bit later. For me, it was Scout. Like to have Scout come back, and after such a storied career in the LPL, have the fall off that he had last year, and kind of wonder, is it just the LNG team that was struggling? Was it him that was struggling? Not exactly sure, but because of his career, he gets a pass, and he hasn't looked great in the series against Hanwha. He looked great, which also again is telling about Zeka and Hanwha. But his first week debut was a very disappointing and scary, and like, oh, what did we just buy? Like, what are we doing here if we're Nongshim, and what are we doing here if we're Scout? If I am Scout, I come back, all right, I'm on a middle team, first match against BNK FEARX, against Vikla, who I think under the radar has put himself together at the end of last year, and I was like, okay, that's fake. That has to be fake, right? Because we saw him all year not know how to play League of Legends and be the caboose of BNK FEARX. Him having a couple of good games once BNK FEARX was out, sure. Him winning ASI, well, that's the strength of LCK. This can't be true. And then getting bodied by Scout. Scout wins getting bodied by Vikla. Vikla wins POM on Scout. I was like, oh no, what is happening?
He looked a lot better against Hanwha, and he looks really good on Talia specifically. Like that was also his best pick in Kespa Cup, but I'm not sold on him just yet. I think there's a lot of growth that needs to happen. Kingen is probably like, this roster again. He's like, again, man. Like Kingen's like, can you guys? He's like, pick me a top mid laner, please. So like Scout, he's like, all right, we'll see. And it's like, oh god, not again. I've been saying this on the broadcast, but the most interesting new addition to Nongshim and the most successful and strongest one seems to be Sponge right now. You mentioned the stocks are up, but like Sponge actually looks really good. And when you're looking at the rest of the team coming together, like Lehen still looks flippy. Taeyun is he had a better game again. Everybody had a better game against Hanwha. They had a really good team fight game. Like they tightened it up a little bit, but I feel like that was kind of a fluke. Hanwha also don't look amazing right now, which we'll get to a little bit later. But I'm kind of looking at this new setup here for Nongshim with like casual optimism, but like cautious. Or sorry, not casual optimism. Cautious optimism. I'm back to like casting 3 days a week right now. We lost Cronny, like my brain is fried. Cautious optimism, but I also want to say that it's like very cautious. I'm a little bit worried that this team may not be able to get it together because it's such a lane focused meta. And when Taeyun is your laner and when Scout's not performing well and you got to play through Kingen in your top lane, it's like, I don't know how well it's going to end for you.
Yeah. A couple of other changes. The supers picking up pieces. The Duck Dom, Life, and Peter bot lane. They pick up Peter. They're still playing Life. Closer joins there for the DN Automotive Supers, changing their name, no longer the Freaks, because Africa was bought by Soup, and now instead of Freaks, they're making the noun out of Soup.
You've literally made
Supers.
jokes about this. Like on the broadcast, I was like, hey, they should name themselves the Supers, because like, that's a common name in the old times for like a superhero, right? A super. Like someone who has powers. Like Superman. I was like, yeah, it would be a great, but that was a joke. Soup. That was actually supposed to be like a kind of like, why are they still the freaks if they're not a freaka? That's so silly. And if you notice their logo, like, maybe pull that up real quick, and you could see that they kind of added like a superhero's type like hairstyle to it. It's also kind of an S.
Okay.
Like,
all right, I never noticed that. Yeah.
Like you guys know, like Lucas from Smash Bros. Lucas from Mother 3, but like obviously more renowned in Smash Brothers. Like he has kind of the hair that's sticking up. Like a lot of superheroes have that little like hair that's sticking up. I think that's what they're trying to do with the logo. It's very cute, but just keep the branding that you built for forever. I don't. Why are we doing this? Why did we do this? Soup.
I don't know. But I do like. I thought the S was a Freak of Freaks erasure, right? Because I thought the F would be on top. The DN Freaks, it was like a F, but maybe my brain is misremembering. Was it always like that? Yeah, let's look at the old logo. Was it an F at the top, or was it always that for an N?
God, it was. It was kind of an F.
It was kind of an F.
I never noticed it was kind of an F.
I never noticed it looked like a superhero. Where you're like,
I mean, I thought maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe there's like maybe it's just an S entirely, and there's no like superhero element to it. But I kind of thought they were trying to be like, oh, it's like a shonen like Clark superhero Kent type character. Yeah, Clark Kent. He also kind of has that little like thing. Yeah,
yeah. They go 0-2, so they change their roster. Things don't change, and I got trolled earlier this week. Ox took my phone and tweeted out, I'm no longer a Bro fan and I'm a T1 fan, which got like as much traction as like posting my engagement photos, which I thought were awesome. But I can understand why people would think that, because the Bros completely changed their roster. Morgan gone. I thought they might keep Hambach, right? Because, all right, he got some games in. He's young. Let's let him run. No, he's gone. He's joined Sentinels. Krakow, I think, is back in the LPL. Everyone left. So casting Gideon, Fisher, Teddy, Namgung, and Romer, who's gotten the start so far, in. And the Bros, they gutted out a gutsy game win, but looked bad in the other games. And looks like a whole nother season of potential here for the Bros.
Yeah, I heard Fisher is like, I mean, this is just rumors I've heard, but I heard Fisher was very sick kind of towards the end of the offseason, and like I think he might have needed to be hospitalized even for a little bit. So they kind of suddenly were like, we got to get Romer, and now he's the starter. But Romer was, if you're looking at solo queue and you're looking at free agents available, like the only real option, because he was soaring at a sub or above 90%, a sub 100% win rate, but above 90% win rate in solo queue for a while, and like was actually tearing it up. And everyone was like, this guy. I mean, I've literally seen posts, foreigners like Westerners saying this guy is going to be the new Chovy. And I was like, well, I mean, I watched Romer. I've seen him. Like, he's actually not an unknown talent. Like, a lot of people are like, no one's ever heard of this man, the solo queue. I'm like, no, he like literally played in challengers a lot. Like, he's seen his games. And like, obviously, the hype for those people who saw his numbers in solo queue were like pretty promptly squashed. Like, it was like, okay. I want to tell you guys also, there was another mid laner who was the top ranked solo queue player for a really long time. And continued to maintain it. His name was Bulldog. His name was
Bulldog. We signed a new Bulldog? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Please, Romer. Please, Fisher, get healthy. Take all the products. Take all the Kwangdong products. Take all the health things. Go talk to your yuck, whatever it is. Please go get healthy, man. Oh, all right. Well, those are the moves that happened. And I think I kind of wanted to go through, just from this first week, early overreactions to the new players in new places, or just like ones that feel good. And I'll start with one that I think feels super good. It's aiming to KT, because KT have subbed in Ghost and Palu in losses, and both those losses, aiming looks like, oh my God, I changed the team and it's back to the same shit again. Like, I can't play with either one of these supports. And he had a lot of that experience with Beryl last season, where it was like, this guy's doing whatever he wants, and I feel like I just have to fend for myself. The early 2 games, 5 games that they played, 2 matches, it feels the same here for aiming. They were able to win one of the series, but in those losses, I'm looking at it from an 80 carries perspective. I'm like, I just feel like there's a lot for aiming to do here.
I like just as everyone knows, I do enjoy KT Rolster doing well, and I did enjoy them making it to the LC or the World's finals last year. I was not enthusiastic about the fact they lost their bottom duo, and everyone, like literally everyone around me is doing this revisionist bullshit. Like,
yes,
Peter was never good.
Yes,
he was actually shit. I was
surprised when people said that. That was making me mad. I was like, what?
I literally watched that one game of the finals where he ran it down a little bit. So I think he was always trash. He was never good. BS, by the way. Yes, Life has more experience than him, and Life is starting over him for now, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to last for the Supers. We'll have to wait and see. Duckdom and Life also played together before, like Duckdom and Peter, so there's also some synergy there. So perhaps Duckdom is like, I want to play with Life. Yeah. So I am, how do I put this in a way that's both accurate but also nice? We had Ghost on the space. That was the interview that I wanted for our desk. If KT came back and won that series, which they did, I was like, I want to hear from Ghost. We were already like, okay, this is a disaster with Palu. Like, we got to get Ghost in there. And then Ghost played, I want to say he played like Thresh that series and had some like mechanical moments. Maybe that was not the specific series where he played Thresh. But anyway, he had a decent series, right? He had a good interview. He's grinding. He's trying to get back to form like BDD. And here, obviously close. They lived through that Nongshim 2022 roster that we hate to talk about. Rest in peace, Dread. But I don't see a world where Ghost can compete with supports who have been career supports on top teams for their entire career that are really good, who also then have aggressive 80 carries that play through that playstyle. Like Ghost has proven, what I saw from Ghost in week 1 is that the man has insane hands. And to go from 80 carry to support is a completely different role. It's a completely different playstyle. You really have to understand, like if you're an 80 carry, at least you understand how the 2v2s work in a lot of matchups because you've been in that lane for your entire career. So you know, like, okay, as a support, as an 80 carry, I hate it when the support does this to me. Like, I know this angle. I know when I'm vulnerable. Like, so you can try to punish those types of things. Same thing with the enemy support engaging on you and stuff like that. As the support, you're like, okay, if my support gets engaged on, I can't play 80 carry well. So he has some understanding there. But it felt like hands and mechanics wise, like he's spammed so many solo queue games that he obviously like he's not missing his abilities. Like, that's not the kind of like issue that we have here. I think when it comes to getting out of lane and vision games and looking for roams and stuff like that, it's going to take him a really long time to catch up to even like Palu in this regard, because he just doesn't, it's like not innate in you. I think a lot of people think support's really easy and it's like the lowest paid role. It's been the lowest paid role forever, basically. Even when it was like a coaching role in the old days. But it's something that like you have to really get to a certain, I think Ghost can get there, but it's going to take such a long time that like it's always going to be a question mark for this roster. Like, how quickly can Ghost learn it? Will it be too late? Will he ever be able to like compete with the Light or carry a or even like Kellen? Like, can he be as good as Kellen? Like, I just don't know if that's ever going to be possible. And Paulo, I feel like, has already hit his ceiling. And this is something that KT has done regardless of like coaching staff. I swear, they just flip-flop their players around like week to week and like pit them against each other and go, oh yeah, looks like you had a bad game, it's the other guy now. And like I don't think that's actually a good long-term thing to do. And KT sometimes will do it only at the beginning of the year and then solidify the roster. Sometimes they'll do it at the beginning of the year, then solidify the roster, then just like randomly change it up in the middle of the year. We did this last year. We did this. Anyone remember Poduk playing for KT Rolster? Anyone remember that?
Barely, yeah.
Like, that actually already happened. We've already done this. So like Maybe next time just build a roster with players who are proficient in the role. You were a world finalist team, KT Rolster. Get some funding. Buy real players. Like, I love Ghost. I'm not trying to talk shit or anything, but like, he is a basically retired pro unretiring into a secondary role. We already tried Snowflower, okay? Like, Nongshim did that too. We got Googer. All right, that happened. That's an emergency situation, KT Rolster. You are one of the biggest organizations in Korea. You have a legacy. Get like a few more hundreds of thousands of dollars and put a real team together and stop doing my man BDD dirty. Okay, he doesn't deserve this. Anyway, this was supposed to be about Ghost role swapping, and it's how it might work out, but it's not looking great so far. And then it turned into a rant about KT Role Show the org.
Well, that was what we were looking for. All right. We'll dive into more of the teams in just a bit, but we want to go into a couple of the early player moves and just touch on a lot of the roster swaps. Yes, I know Smash fans, we didn't talk about Smash yet, or Willer fans, we talk about Willer getting out of BNK Academy, but we'll do there. So in just a bit. But now is the time to remind you about our friends over at Raycon. This message is sponsored by Raycon. Now that the holidays are over, it's a perfect time to upgrade your gear for the new year. If you're getting back into the fitness routine or training more constantly, audio that actually works while you are on the move makes a huge difference. I've been using Raycon's essentially open earbuds, and they are a game changer for workouts. They don't block out everything like traditional earbuds, so I can hear what's going on around me while still running, lifting, or walking outside. Music and podcasts like ours stay clear without losing awareness, which is huge for safety and focus. And right now, Raycon is ringing in the new year with the sale, so it's a perfect time to grab them. Regular earbuds block everything out. Sometimes you can't hear someone calling your name or a car honking or anything. These Raycons just sit outside your ear canal so you can get a really clear sound, but you can actually hear what's happening around you as well. The awareness is perfect for tackling your fitness resolutions safely. They're really light and the ear hook part rotates so they actually stay on in. Worn them at the gym, on walks, and doing stuff around the house, and they don't fall out or get uncomfortable. A couple of the features that make them the best everyday go-to are the open ear design, the multi-angular hook for all different types of different shapes, as well as the switch between phone and laptop without repairing them every time. The lightweight, ultra-flexible ear hook, there it is, that adapts to any ear for all-day comfort and awareness. That's super important because I know a lot of y'all got some weird looking ears, as well as the 36-hour battery life, 8 hours of playtime, and 36 hours of battery with the charging case. I only need to charge them once a week. Now, the essentially open earbuds are here to help you crush your new year goals. Go to buyraycon.com/M&W open to get 20% off site wide. That's M&W open at buyraycon.com. Thanks to Raycon for sponsoring. Again, great product here for us that we use all the time. I trust Raycon. I tell everyone about Raycon. It is great. Go get them and crush your new year goals.
Super durable. I just have to add, like, that's one of my favorite things about the Raycons. Like, they are just so, throw them in your pocket, throw them in your bag. Oh, you drop them, they skidded across the sidewalk, doesn't matter, and they just do not get beat up. In like, you can put them anywhere. The battery life's insane, so easy to charge, and it's great pair of headphones.
Yep. Thanks to our friends over at Raycon. Go crush your new year goals. Make the new year the new you. Speaking of new year, new you, we have new LCK Cup and new LCK Cup rules. One of the big ones that we touched on that Wolf really needs people to understand is first selection. We are no longer across, it's not just an LCK Cup thing. This one is a global thing. No longer does first pick mean blue side. So now they've decoupled it. If you're listening on podcast, you can't see my fingers, but I'm swapping it. I'm splitting them up. You get selection of first pick or side selection. First pick or side selection. I think the idea behind this, Wolf, is for people that feel bad that you have to walk around the Baron pit to get into Baron if you're on red side, rather than just walking straight into it. You can decouple that, because before it was, connected with first pick or red side. So they want to see if that leads to any unique changes. But really, Wolf, what's it's mostly led to is if you have first right of selection, almost everyone, majority of teams, if not all the teams, selected first or second pick. They selected which pick they're doing. And then the team that didn't have first selection would select what side. So a lot of the time in game one, we're getting the team with selection getting first pick, and the second team that gets to select picking blue side. So you get first pick red side. That is what has happened most of the time.
Yeah, so I want to go on a little bit of a discussion / rant about this, because everyone knows I really don't like change that much, especially when things are established and working very well, in my opinion. I do think there was not a big outcry from teams being like, it's just not fair that on blue side they get first pick and the better approach to Baron and the better 2v2 control in bottom lane gives you an easier invade to blue buff. It's just not fair. Because you know why teams weren't complaining about it too much? Because when it was their turn for side selection, they also could have picked blue side and get first pick. This is the way the game has been played for over a decade. And so when this was leaked in by like some LPL stuff, because LPL always leaks everything and all the players just turn their streams on and tell the whole world about it. It almost sometimes feels like intentional, like Riot's like telling Doinby like, we're gonna see the public reaction to this, so like please talk about it on your stream. And he's like, oh, I will. And I'll get a lot of viewers and it'll be great. So leak came out, a lot of people were like, that's kind of strange. The way like that we were told about it was very shortly after the leak, which made me feel like this was a very last minute decision by Riot that we're going to implement this change this year. That's just my like personal speculation. I don't know. But I found out like the day after the leak hit, officially from LCK, that this was going to be a change that we were implementing, which was like, what, 2 weeks before LCK, maybe a week and a half before LCK Cup was starting. So we were told it was called first selection, right? Which sounds kind of confusing in itself already, because like, isn't that just first pick, which we have on blue side? So like, who has first selection? It's like, oh, this team has first selection, except they chose second pick, by the way. So actually they have second selection, but they chose with first selection to go for second selection or second pick. So what do we do after that? We changed it to right of first selection. And it to me, when I see all of this happening and how last minute it all happened, because it went from first selection to right of first selection within like the span of maybe 2 days there, I'm like, okay, this wasn't planned. This was forced. This was like we're going to make this change happen, and it's going to happen no matter what. And we didn't really have like a great way to even name this, but like it needs to happen, and it's suddenly being forced to happen. And teams haven't been able to utilize it in a strategic way that much yet. Like you said, basically what has happened is first pick is now on red side. Because when you pick first pick, the enemy team picks blue side, because that's the only choice they can get. And there's not really, at this moment in time, a reason to choose red side as a specific like map choice. Like we might see some strategies later on where that becomes a thing. Like we've seen a lot of blue side specific strategies. We've seen red side. You guys remember the red side Scion invade, like level 1, where the top laner would come down and like invade the red buff and that kind of stuff. Like that was a thing on red side specifically. We've seen some red side specific strategies over the course of the last few years, but like it's very rare. But essentially, what Riot has done is done this really complicated thing, which has then just made it so that now first pick is on red side. And that's how it's going to be. We didn't even have a graphic ready initially for like showing which team had first pick in the draft. It's been added now, so it shows you now like which team has first pick in the draft, so you're aware of that. But when you go in game, it is impossible at this moment in time, as far as I can tell, as far as I know. I cast 3 days this last week. I cast 6 best of 3s to tell which team had side selection or first pick in game. So when you go in, you might have negative assumptions about how a draft went. Like, oh, I see they're on red side, so they counterpicked support. These were things that you without having any graphics, without having any text or having any information given to you or like spoon fed to you, like this team has first pick with words on the screen. we're able to identify if you were a fan of League of Legends for 10 years immediately. Like you could see a Karma on red side and go, okay, well they counterpick the Karma. You could just actually inherently know that immediately. If you were like 10 minutes into a game, you could be like, oh, I think I know how this happened. Like as an analyst, and I think for fans this matters a little bit, but as an analyst, being able to know all of that stuff just up front without having to like open up League PD, be like, ah, shit, how did this go? Like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, actually drives me insane that I have to actually like basically look shit up now instead of just being like, oh, I think I can rationalize this or figure this out. I come from a game. I mean, I actually come from StarCraft, really, but like I commentated another MOBA called Heroes of the Storm, which a lot of you guys may have not even heard of. Some of you younger fans.
What's that?
Heroes of the Storm's draft system, or like basically their setup going into games, but when you win the coin toss or you have prio because of your higher seed, whatever, you could either choose first pick or choose the map, because Heroes of the Storm actually had multiple maps. And even teams that were specifically good at certain map types, for the most part, teams were like, well, you got to know all the maps. You got to be good at every map. I want to say 85 to 90%, maybe even higher. But if I'm being like really conservative, it's 85 to 90% of the time, teams chose first pick every single time, because it's like, well, that getting that first meta pick and having the threat and being able to force bans and being able to control the way that draft is going to be shaped around that first pick, especially with metas where like heroes and Heroes of Storm like Genji or Uther were like so broken that like they had to be first picked if they were not banned, so you could guarantee your enemy team was in the ban. It was always more valuable. And I think in League of Legends, we've always associated blue side with the ability to get first pick. And there were sometimes niche drafts where you would pick red side because you wanted to have that R5 counter pick. Now, it's just you get counter pick on blue side is basically what's happened. And we've created all of this convoluted stuff that makes it so difficult to ascertain what's going on without, like, again, looking stuff up where Riot's going to have to add more graphics and things like that. We already have like the new graphic for all the role quests. We already have all the experience and all that stuff shown. I think we're probably going to have role quest experience added to the UI as well. It's just a lot. I feel like this change in one sense adds extra depth to the game. I do think it adds extra depth to the game. I think it adds extra depth to strategy, and it makes the game a little bit more fair, so to speak. Like the way Ox put this recently was, you know, if blue side is 5% better than red side, like, and you have first pick, which is like the more good thing, like what if it's just you don't have that extra 5%? Basically, I get that because it makes blue side insanely strong. I get that, but because of the way coin tosses work and series work, if you lose, you get that anyways. And in our format where you have double round robin in the LCK, or even now like multiple more round robins when you get to the second part of the season, you get to have that prio advantage anyways, like no matter what. So it was always fair. I find this to be a lot of like overcomplicated stuff that results in like, okay, so now first pick is on red side. That's kind of my take on this, and I feel like we overcooked here, right? I think this one's an overcook.
Yeah,
that's my long.
And the reason why I wanted you to go first is because I knew you were going to hit almost all the points that I feel the same way. Like, it feels convoluted. It takes away the ease of identifying what happened in a draft, and it makes draft even less approachable. I think, like, a lot of the time fans could say, oh, well, they drafted this because of that, and now that goes away. That goes away because you have to understand that we can't really know now, like, hey, if a team does do something different, like why that is or what that strategy is, because there's a whole history log of 15 years of blue side first pick, and you can kind of piece together what kind of comps come in. So the experimentation would have been fine. I liked it as an idea for LCK Cup, and then we'll see if it implements it like Fearless Draft. But it kind of being mandated down, and now everyone is, it's just more confusing to start. Again, kind of like Fearless, we'll see what happens if it does breed into some unique strategies where teams are staying on the same side. We did get to see that a couple times on Fearless, where one team picked red side every time, or one team picked blue side every time. and those were unique, but it wasn't like overly impactful. And I don't remember ever being like, wow, that was so cool. We need to have an interview on that. I want to know the it just never did that. So
there's a
I feel like maybe this is just for the pros, but I wish there was more communication on the,
and I think,
why.
I think pros will be able to adapt to this because it doesn't affect them that much. It's a little bit weird, but it's just like for the pros, it's the same kind of thing where it's like, well, this is kind of a little bit more convoluted and unnecessary, but there's some strategies that coaches will come up with potentially. I mean, maybe not actually. The coaches will probably be thinking most of the time, like, how do we use red side a little bit differently now? Because that's where first pick goes. Maybe there's some stuff that we'll see later on, but usually like those kinds of red side strategies were involved with a counter pick on R5. But there's like a reason, for example, why we have the players sit the way they do. Let's just like talk about a different example of like tradition, right? There's a reason why like the players sit top, jungle, mid, bottom, support. And for those who don't know why, you probably could figure it out if you think about it. It's like, oh yeah, they do sit like that. Why do they sit like that? It's so that from a fan's perspective, from a production's perspective, from a cameraman's perspective, from anyone, if you do not know who this person is, you don't know their face. If you're watching a player at Worlds, say KT Rolsey goes to Worlds, you don't watch the LCK that much, but you've heard about this team, but you don't know who Peter is. You can kind of go, well, he's in the support seat. I know who that is. He's the guy who sits in the 5th seat. He's the support. Well, that guy's the top laner. He sits in the front seat. There's a reason why things are done and kept the way they are because you can identify things quickly. And now I feel like it's a little bit more complicated to do that. Dplus Kia literally changed their players' roles. Like Malrong was like, I'm 80 carry role now. I'm gonna sit in because they wanted to change the way the players were sitting. Like a few years back, this actually happened. And like eventually, I think Riot was like, yeah, you can't do that. Like at the time, Dplus was like, technically we can. And it's like, okay, now you can't even do that, by the way, in terms of like changing players' roles in game. Like you used to be able to, remember when you grab the UI and drag the mid CS up to the top and swap it with top one, like a Renekton would swap with a Jace or something like that? Can't do that anymore because of role quests.
Yep.
Can't do level 1 anymore because the minions spawn too fast. I feel like a lot of stuff is getting eroded away right now in pro play, and like even for spectators, it's a little bit confusing and. A lot of changes are happening all at once. I know this stuff might be things that in 10 more years, if League of Legends lasts for 10 more years, we're like, oh yeah, but it was better for the game, so it doesn't matter. It was a growing pain. Maybe we'll look back at it and think that, but right now it feels like, could we have done this a little bit more gradually? That's all I'm saying.
You can invade. You just do a quick peek. You're like, hello, are you there? Okay, I'm going to my lane. It works. Try that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an invade or if that's like a throwing a ward very quickly towards the enemy Raptor camp, rushing back to mid lane.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's very hectic, like 7 seconds. First selection, not the only change here at LCK Cup. This one specifically for LCK Cup, LCP, and for LPL is coach voice. Now, we've seen early indications here that for bad teams is good. For good teams, they don't really use it or don't, they're not sure if they want to use it, like that seems to be the way to go. We had Owner on the desk and he's like, yeah, we don't really use it that much. Whereas, like in who was it? DRX
nonstop. Yes. Joker is like, he's like, the button is off cooldown. I pressed it again.
DRX against T1, and it looked good. I was like, oh, these early games, T1 is not just blowing the doors off. It feels like the DRX guys aren't getting picked off. And then around 18 minutes, when he's probably out of pauses, boom, there goes the end of the game. But it has added, I think, a fun wrinkle to equalize the bad teams against the good teams to make it 5.5 versus 5 players. 5.5 players versus 5 players.
It levels the playing field quite a bit because the top teams, especially teams that have been around together for a really long time, like T1, for example, they changed out one part 2 years in a row, but otherwise it stayed 80% the same. Have a ton of pre-built synergy. They have Faker. Like, they don't need that. Like, Faker is probably going to, if Tom goes on the comms, Faker's going to be like, can you stop talking? Thank you. I'm trying to, like, you think you know more than me? Like, what? And that team operates that way, right? So they don't need coach comms. I don't think they will ever use coach comms. I don't think they need to use coach comms right now. In the short term as well, I think a lot of top teams who are like, I am better, I don't need this, are like, this is going to be temporary anyways. Like, I don't even need to invest time or waste my time with and energy on that. The coach who is watching with coach comm access has to watch in a separate room from the normal coaching room, where they have to watch only player perspective, so their team's perspective rather, which you can either watch like with vision talk. I'm not actually 100% sure. I need to actually, I think I'm going to ask next week if I can just go into a room and see what they see. That might not be allowed. I don't know. I'll probably get rejected, but I want to actually see what the setup is, or at least clarify. Maybe like when coaches aren't in there, like during rehearsal or something, I'll go in and see like what they can see. Because I've seen at the LPL, like they have 5 different players' perspectives, almost like you're watching 5 different streams, like what Cadril would watch when he's doing the Ratone's stuff. Like you guys have probably seen that on his stream. 5 points of view, basically. Either way, you cannot see the whole map. You cannot see what the enemy team is doing. You cannot see what the enemy jungler is doing. So if you spend the entire game, if you're the coach in that booth, not knowing what the enemy jungler's pathing was the whole game, which you might be able to use against him in a future series or even in game 2, for example, or some other small things that a lot of coaches look for. So there's somewhat of a detriment even to go into that booth because you're getting less information about the entire big picture. Yes, you have a short break where you could VOD review that from going to game 1 and game 2, but that's not enough time. Then you have additional work you have to do when the series is over because you're going to go back and watch the whole thing and see what the enemy team did. There's going to be questions that you have, like why were they where they were, like when we got surprised by this or that, because you just didn't see the movement, you didn't see what their vision was. Like there's going to be a lot of holes if you were watching with limited vision. So what I think, and this is something that Keysun, for those of you guys who know Keysun, is pointed out, like when we were talking about this a few days ago, he was like, don't you think they have to eventually, like teams will have to make this a specific role within the team? And I hadn't really thought about it that way until he mentioned that. I was like, yeah, I guess if this becomes permanent, which by the way, I think like 90% of going to become permanent, because when Riot tries something, they're telling you like, you need to learn this. It is going to be forever. I remember when Fearless was tried for one small first stance.
All right, Wolf. All right, Wolf. Keep going. Keep going.
Anyway, so like I think this probably will be permanent, right? Because Riot wants it to happen, and I think it's going to be good, and it might be. And Joker has proven that it can change the course of a lower team against T1. Like that's already been proven in our first week that can actually make a positive impact to level the playing field. Whether that's good or not is up to, if you're a top team, you're like, I don't like that, probably. But my point is, I think eventually if this becomes permanent, which I predict that it will, even though I kind of right now leaning towards like, I hope it doesn't. But my point is, you will probably have a designated shot caller coach who sits back there. He doesn't need to see the whole vision. He doesn't need to do all that because one of your other coaches is going to be doing that. That's going to be his role. And your role is going to be focusing on what's happening in game as basically a shot caller and someone who can add additional information. You're probably going to have that person be insanely good at tracking because he, as far as I know, can see the chat, so can see when summoner spells are pinged and stuff like that. He's probably going to write down or have like even an app on his phone or something to track summoners. If there's a moment where he thinks his teammates are misreading or his players are misreading something, he could be like, all right, Flash is not up for 20, by the way, like use this window. There's like a way that you can use this when you have that specific role. Joker is the closest thing that we've seen to someone who clearly prepped for this, even though it was leaked by like Caster Jun, not that long ago. There wasn't a ton of time to do this. Ultimately, teams knew about it for a decent amount of time, and it seems like only Joker has really been like, this is like what I'm going to, I don't even want to say abuse this, but I'm going to maximize like the value that we can get out of this. And like, I think this is important. I'm going to use this with my players. And he probably has even been maybe doing it in scrims, for example, with his team to help them and adjust to it and get used to it because it's working out for him. So I think it's kind of awkward on broadcast. Like when we put I think specifically for us, when we put that up, like it's so jarring because it's in Korean and sometimes it's like incredibly fast and really detailed. And like it's difficult for us to translate, even with Jisun, who's obviously one of the best translators in esports, feeding us the information or writing it on prompter for us before it happens. It's like just never really fully accurate. It's like never really fully conveyed. I don't know if it really has a place on broadcast. I think it would be better suited for content pieces and stuff like that later on, which we already have like we don't show the players' comms too often, but we show them in content later, which is really cool and builds a story of like how a series went. But coach voice, I want to see like if it's going to be around, I want to see teams use it like Joker. I want to see a lot more involvement. I want to see teams figure out how to plan to use it, because we saw KT use it. Like the first coach voice of the tournament was like KT's coach saying a bunch of stuff before a team fight, and KT got confused and then
got caught in the
yeah, it was like really not good. So there's definitely good uses, there's been bad uses, and there's been not using it at all.
Yeah, I don't think this is the same as Fearless. Maybe it is, but if that's the case, now every team around the world is going to invest into another coach role or a dedicated coach role. And is this coach role like a player coach? Like, what is that cost associated with that? Like, it just, and then what do you do if you're an amateur team trying to move on up? If you're an ERL, like, what do you do? If you're collegiate, what do you do? Is this become part of the game? Because this feels gimmicky. This feels gimmicky. This doesn't feel built into the game. This feels built into the broadcast, into the production. And so if you're running a League of Legends event, like you can't, it's not in the client. It's not in the client. So I don't think that this would be added to the game. I think this was a fantasy of someone who watches Drive to Survive and liking to hear the little in the coach's voice, like, Lewis, can you please go lighter on the brakes? And he's like, shut up! I know! I'm fucking Faker of
F1! That's the thing. That's the thing, like, about this is that League of Legends, again, like what we talked about with First Selection, has existed for over a decade without this. Players like Faker who have been basically playing since the very beginning and are still playing now, but a lot of veterans who've been playing for 5+ years, 7+ years are like, I am the veteran. I actually, like, the cool thing about me is I know almost everything there is to know. And now you're telling me, like, the coaches can basically just, like, give hints and shit. Like, the thing about being Faker is I'm fucking Faker. I know everything. I am that guy. I was like, we don't really use that. I'm like, oh, really? I wonder why. I wonder if it's because maybe, like, the guy who knows more about this entire game and everything there is to know about side lane pressure, like we've talked about this for a decade with Faker. Yeah, maybe they don't really need that. It just feels like they've changed the game and given, it's like it rewards this weird niche role rather than the 5 people who are grinding and trying to learn this. Like the weakness of shot calling is a thing that, like, teams who have weak shot calling, like Dplus, have had for multiple years over the last 5 years, have had to deal with, and like that's a thing that you have to work on as a team. You have to improve. DNF, like, they just couldn't get it together. They couldn't figure it out. That's the coaching staff's fault. That's the players' fault. But, like, would DNF have been able to figure it out with somebody going, like, don't throw, like, don't go into the enemy base as the AD carry without the whole team. You have a 10,000 gold lead. I don't know. They might have still messed it up, but, like, is it good that somebody can fix those problems, or should you have to fix it as a team? Because what it meant to be a good League of Legends team with good shot calling was earned before, and now it's a little bit different. I'm just saying all these things. I know I sound like a whiner on this episode because I'm just like, oh, they added all this stuff and it's not the way it used to be and I don't like it, but it feels like there's been some watering down of a lot of different mechanics in pro play to make things fairer. I'm like, does it need to be fair, or like should people just get good? Here on Monte Wolf, since Monte was on this show, we're kind of people who are saying get good. that's been probably our thing.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. I think this has to be the question that we ask you guys that hopefully you guys will take the time to answer. The first selection, right of first selection, but more importantly, coach voice. Like, is this something that stays? Is this something that's not? How do you feel like the impact is? I think, again, from a production perspective, it's fun, but I don't think it's essential to the game. But as I did make the point about F1, you think about football, right? They put the radio in the quarterback's helmet and usually the middle linebacker's helmet. So there are big name sports that added this into the top tier of the sport, and in high school football, you don't have that. So maybe there's a world where this is a thing only for the top tier league. And as you said, there are a lot of pros that have retired. So now it could elongate their career. But you know, who knows? I just think this is a little too gimmicky, and It removes from the great shot callers of the game and having your support track the timers and everyone being on top of summoners, because we've seen so many times teams be punished because they don't track summoner spells. And like that is part of the game. And to just be like, hey, just a reminder, no sums here. That's annoying. That's annoying.
The thing about the part of it being part of the broadcast that's weird as a caster, besides the fact that, like, I think obviously specifically for us it's in Korean, right? Like our language, our broadcast language and the language of the comms are different, so our fans inherently can't understand except Korean speaking ones, which is such a small portion of the global audience, right? And then even like myself, who could speak Korean decently, you know, like I'm fluent, like but I don't, so, like sometimes it's too fast or it comes up like while I'm in the middle of a sentence and like I don't have any context, so like it's very challenging. But even beyond that, we already live in a world where team fights are long, the game has been like sped up, we have replays after every team fight, we miss a lot of setup. Like we're already missing a lot of setup because replays became a standard thing where we have to show a replay every time. Like I don't know when this changed, but at some point it was like every time somebody dies, it has to be replayed, it has to be contextualized. So I miss a lot of setup. The game has been simplified a lot of ways, and now like I'm missing narrative opportunities and talking about different things because the coach voice clip comes up and it's like 30 seconds of the guy being like, "Stay sharp, by the way, he doesn't have flash." And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, all right, like that's cool, but like it's not that epic. Like they probably wouldn't have put that one in the F1 documentary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sharp turn coming up. It's like, all right, cool, yeah, thanks for the reminder, but that kind of thing. uh, I think like there's a certain element I liked when the coach comms weren't shown on broadcast, but we saw the like microphone, like, you know, pulsating, like, oh, they're using it. And then as a commentator, you can either ignore it if you're in the middle of your point, you're talking about something else, and this isn't as relevant, you can come back to it later. Or you can speculate in an interesting way about what may or may not be being discussed based on the information you have. And then later, when the content comes out, you can be like, oh, actually, we found out he was talking about this or he wasn't talking about this, whatever. But in the moment, to be like, I think, because you will speculate to some degree. I think it was setting up for this dragon fight. He was probably telling them like, you need to get vision early, and then the guy comes on and he's like, Nar doesn't have flash. Don't panic, guys. And I'm like, oh, okay, well that took away all the mystery and intrigue that like I was trying to set up there, because he just basically didn't say anything. Like, all right, so it's just, it feels forced. It's a cool idea. Let's see how it develops, because I think it's probably here to stay. I didn't think Fearless was here to stay. Yeah. We talked about it a lot on this show. I'm over it now. Like, Fearless is great. I'm okay with it. I adjusted to it. Maybe I'll adjust to this too, and write a first selection and roles and not being able to change things, and a minute of our time being taken away from the game and the level ones and all that stuff. I'll adjust, guys. Don't worry. I'll be fine.
Jeez. All right. Let us know in the comments if you think Wolf's going to be fine. All right. Now, as we move on again, and let us know what you think about Coach Voice. Here to stay, or just a fun thing for the winter. Speaking of winter, that means it's a new year where you want to eat better, but you have zero time and zero energy to make it happen. Well, our friends over at Factor, they don't ask you to meal prep or follow recipes. It just removes the entire problem. 2 minutes, real food, and then done. You're not failing at eating healthy. You're actually failing at having 3 extra hours every night to meal prep, but that's where Factor has you covered. It's already made by chefs, designed by dietitians, and delivered to your door. It's just heating it for 2 minutes and eating it and enjoying. What's inside? Well, there are lean proteins, colorful vegetables, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. The stuff you'd make if you had the time, with no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and no refined seed oils. And it can fit your life, not someone else's plan, but your life, what you want out of it, because there's 100 rotating meals every week. High protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean, GLP-1 support meals, or ready-to-eat salads that have you covered. And there's also the new Muscle Pro collection for strength and recovery, and you pick what fits your goals, whether it's healthier eating, calorie management, more protein, whatever you're trying to do, Factor has you covered. And what you get is that it's always fresh, never frozen, ready in 2 minutes, no prep, no cleanup, no mental load, not motivation to eat better. It's just elimination of the reason why you don't. Now, Factor is so awesome. That's why so many of us here at Last Free Nation use it. If we had it, this is what I would use here in Korea. A little harder to get to, but don't worry. They have you covered by heading on over to factormeals.com/MonteWolf50 off and use the code MonteWolf50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying and auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easier with their friends over at Factor. Okay. Now let's head on over to talking about some of the teams that stood up here in week 1. Now that we've got through some of the early offseason moves and some of the format changes in Wolf, I think we got to start at the one that has surprised us the most. And it was the one that maybe, okay, we could see him losing a game earlier. We could see them losing a series earlier. But I don't think we saw them losing 2 series and getting swept by one of the 2 red teams that wasn't T1. That's right. We're talking about Hanwha Life Esports, who made the big offseason moves with Kanavi coming on over and winning the Gumayusi sweepstakes. And they lose their series to T1. It was a great series. It was a great game 1. Game 2 was a little bit not so much, and game 3 was a little bit not so much. They're like, okay, here's your bounce back series later on in the week against the Noodle Boys. And they lose game 1 in a, as Wadid likes to call it, a one mistake game. I don't think it was one mistake that they made, but one big mistake at the Baron. They're ahead. They're going to try and rush it in a 5v4. And Scout shows up, lands a big shockwave. They win. And they just run down mid and win. And it's kind of a shock. Law Park, silent. Our mics couldn't pick them up. And then in the second series, all of a sudden, hey, is anyone looking? Did anyone forget to look at Boo? Taeyun's like doing okay. Lehens, he's flipping heads. Scout has some confidence. Kingen's kingening. And all of a sudden, they drop the second game. They get swept 0-2. And they start the season 0-2 with the World's Finals there, with military exempt Kanavi, with Zeus, the God of Thunder, in the top side of the map. And yeah, it's is it panic? Is everything over?
I thought about it a lot last night after I came home, and I really tried to figure out what is the main issue, because a lot of people just want to blame their favorite or least favorite player, right? A lot of people are like, well, Guma, I knew he was bad. A lot of people are like, oh, Delight's worse than Keria. Like, if you're a Guma fan, you're like, Delight's worse than Keria. That's what's going on. And if you're not a Guma fan, you're like, I told you guys, he was bad. That's what's. I don't think this is about Guma at all, to be honest. And it's not about Zeus really that much either. If you're still on that, you're living in the past from last year, where this is a big swap and everything that's going on with that. Is it a Zeka issue? Kind of. But Zeka and Kanavi look really good in the jungle mid. So what's going on? What's the issue? I think it's a lack of macro shot calling, because this team doesn't have Peanut anymore, who I think was a big shot caller and a big person who basically could tell Zeka where to go or when he needs to come, and when they're gonna go to a dragon fight, and how they're gonna set up for that. If we have seen snap decisions by this team, they have been decisive. I think they've probably, this is my theory, right, that in scrims maybe early on and during maybe a Kespa Cup, they were having problems shot calling. They were being a little bit indecisive, a little bit slow. Because if you look back at some of those Kespa Cup games, you can kind of feel that, the lack of Peanut. And then probably the coaching staff was make decisions faster. And so they are. And the 2v2 for jungle mid has been really solid for this roster so far. Kanavi has been insanely aggressive. But when it comes to their leads, they've just decided, basically, if you watch that Kanavi Aatrox game, I was talking about before, the Kanavi only goes in, I said this on the cast as kind of a joke, he only has one mode, and then the Aatrox game happened, I was like, well, I mean, I didn't mean it like he literally only goes in. He was just walking up, I swear he practically walked into, with mid interrupt, he's like, I'm gonna go under the inhibitor turret and kill that guy. And it was working. The rest of the team was like, whoa, I guess we're gonna go with him. But instead of that, maybe just get a lot more deep vision and a lot of map control and a little bit more side lane pressure could have been the way. Their comp hinged around the Aatrox. The Aatrox was fed, so I get playing through that. I'm not saying Kanavi was making mistakes, but it felt like there wasn't a lot of depth in that game. and they set themselves up for failure where they, oh, oops, got caught one time, GG situation. Like they kind of set themselves up for that because there weren't a lot of other outs. There weren't a lot of like they were like, we have to do Baron now, like because we need to actually solidify our position further because we didn't actually chip away at the turrets with our macro because we kind of just kept running up mid with Kanavi leading the charge and like killing people, but not actually turning it into a big like, okay, the game is over now situation. So I think Hanwha really just need to figure out how they want to macro, and I think Kanavi needs to be given a bit of a leash. Like sometimes when you say it, you mean like give him a longer leash. Like in this case, I mean a shorter leash. Like they need to like rein him in and be like, hey, like maybe like shadow the side laners a little bit. We don't have to just like see enemy 80 carry and like dash flash, get on top of him and kill him every time. Which was cool watching like Zeus getting the silent engages over and over again. That was very fun. That was very impressive. It was very mechanical. And like when you see moments like that, you're like knowing how Zeus would want to play this and how they want to do. They already have a concept of how they want to team fight. Like the team fighting is going to be very strong on this roster. It's just like everything that happens when they're not running forward and killing the 80 carry, where I'm like, okay, we could tighten this up a little bit. I think this team is going to be one of our legend group teams, like 100%. I don't see any world where like they don't make legend group when we get to that in 5 months time. But I wonder, like, are they going to be better than Dplus consistently? Like Dplus already has such a good start. They have such a great 80 carry in their lineup now. Like, is Hanwha Life going to be challenging for like a first stand spot, or is it just going to be T1 Genji? Right now, it feels like T1 and Genji look much better, and I think Hanwha fans. I don't think you should think this is a bad team or a bad roster, but I think a lot of work needs to be done. Like this team is not firing on all cylinders just yet. The same way I think T1 for the most part is, and I think Genji obviously with no roster changes just kind of picked up where they left off.
Yeah, I think my concern with this is that when I think about game one of Nongshim, it felt like both comps were like, okay, front to back, and then, work through it, and then we can, blow them up. And then Guma steps up at the Baron pit, gets hit by, I think, the Pantheon stun into the shockwave, into the Wombo combo. Then Zeka goes in. You have a second carry. It's okay. Zeka goes in, whiffs the ult, and then Orianna lives, and all four players in a 4v5 for Nongshim live, push down mid in the game. I think this is a really interesting time now for Hanwha to see, okay, there were, Gum was benched last year, and now let's see how he reacts to adversity here. Early adversity on this thing when the moving to a new team, starting a new place, it's supposed to feel good. Everything feels good. Everything feels fresh. I'm the guy. I won finals MVP. Now what happens when we have adversity and things to point to grow on? And I think getting this out of the way early for Hanwha Life Esports is good. It's let's see how we do in adversity. Let's see what we're made out of. We know how good we can be. We know what we've accomplished individually and what this organization has accomplished together. And that's not indicative of a 2-0 loss to Nongshim. So I think this is one of those classic, thank goodness we not that we suck as a team, but we sucked as a team that early in this season. So we can fix it later on. We can point back to these things and start the growth. Not like we're already rolling, because we saw that. T1 is already rolling. It is kind of plug and play. And I think specifically this week, we got to see Pays getting targeted and not dealing with it as well as during Cuspa Cup when everything was perfect and people are thinking everything's perfect. And no, they have things to work on too, but they were finding success. Whereas Hanwha, they thought maybe they're at the same level as T1, losing 1-2 against them. Okay, respectable. But then the drop against Nongshim, I think, is a good wake-up call to realize, okay, we can be that high as beating T1, but our lows are way too low to be a LCK champion, a world's champion, an LCK Cup champion.
I think it's early days. I don't think this has implications for what it's going to look like when we get to the end of, like, when we get to the split for Rise and Legend. Like, I don't think this has implications for, are they going to Worlds? Are they going to have a good spot in LCK playoffs? We don't know yet. But like, if things don't change by the end of LCK Cup and we're looking at like 2 weeks into LCK and this is still looking like this, then you should be worried. But I think right now we're just like going through the growing pains. I think Hanwha is going to scale as a team this season and will look much stronger. I think the floor is already like legend. Like I think they will make it there. Like they're really, really strong. But a few hiccups here and there and like some tightening up needs to happen. And like it's a good meta for Zeka. Akali is somewhat relevant. Like Silas is very relevant. Galio, which has been one of his better picks last year, very relevant. Like his Azir game was fine. Like he actually looked pretty good. We just need to see the shot calling and the side laning and like some of the taking advantages and turning them into like an oppressive lead the same way Genji and T1 does get better. Yeah. But I think if you're a Hanwha fan, you're not happy right now, but you shouldn't be worried.
I think there's a little worry, not about the new parts. I think there's a little worry about Zeka. I think I'm a little worried. A little bit. But we'll see. Let's see. What else? Let's move on over to the top teams. So I think I wrote down top teams. T1, Dplus, Genji. Where are the notes here, Wolf?
I mean, I think for T1, like Pei's kind of underwhelming compared to Kespa Cup. And as someone who was like singing his praises to the mountaintops after his Kespa Cup performance, I don't think he's had a bad week, but it just has been almost like I don't even want to say he's playing as well as Guma. Like he's just been kind of. It feels almost like his early Genji days where you're like, oh, he's very gifted mechanically, but he might randomly get caught. You got to be careful about your positioning, by the way. It kind of like feels like he's playing almost like a rookie, and maybe that's some of the nerves coming through and some of the I'm on T1 now catching up with him a little bit because there's a lot of added pressure there. It's the heaviest jersey you can wear.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he improves. I think T1 do look like they are still probably our second best team next to Genji right now. Coming into this week, we're like, okay, is Genji going to look better? We don't know because they didn't play in Kespa Cup. They look to be the most consistent, strongest team. Like their stomps were the stompiest. They looked phenomenal. Even in that tough game against DRX, where DRX put them on the ropes a little bit early and Canyon made some errors. Like Canyon is still a little bit shaky, it seems, a little bit overconfident at times, but like he's Canyon and he does that from time to time. He did that even back when he was like winning MVP at Worlds. So I think this team is probably the best. The big question mark is Dplus because Showmaker's form continued to be insane. But Lucid looks like a veteran now. Like Lucid actually looks like he's a top tier jungler, and like he looks like he's been playing as long as Peanut has. Like he looks like he's almost reached that point. His pathing is great, his decision making is great, mechanically still as strong as he always was. And you have Smash who's added to this roster, and so you have this extra star power flashy AD carry that Aiming never was on this roster. Like he just never was. Like Aiming was the guy you're like, okay, we're doing a scaling AD carry thing, but Aiming might randomly die. Like I'm very worried about that. Whereas Smash is like, I can save the game, by the way, also from behind. Like, I can make a flashy play. I can make a really huge outplay happen in the mid lane. Like, I can solo kill at 15 minutes the enemy AD carry because I saw the angle. Like, that's the kind of player that Smash is. But he also will scale up and team fight well. So that feels like a huge upgrade. Xiu is, he's not having a bad week. He's not having a flashy week. He's just being a consistent top laner right now, which is what this team needs when they have all these other parts, fully functioning. Showmaker being in his best form was always a worry to me because that play won't last forever. But
it's too early, Showmaker. Yeah, why do you do this?
I think around the time we get halfway through playoffs for Dplus is when they'll start disappointing us again, and we'll be like, what could have been? But for now, like if they can continue to play like this, they could make the finals. Like they were pretty close in the Kespa Cup for making that same run. Like it was actually not unreasonable. And I kind of feel like I want to say Showmaker from the eye test is still our best mid laner mechanics wise that we've seen in LCK Cup. The reason I won't say that is because the level of opponents that Dplus have faced thus far has been weak. We'll see what happens when they play against the big dogs, how he performs against, Chovy directly. When that happens later on. That's when we'll get the real test, but looking positive for Dplus. It's same trend as last year, where they went 5-0 in their group, and then stopped cooking, and then never fully recovered.
Yeah. I mean, it was against Roamer welcome to the league roamer kind of flashy buy the boots of lucidity and just get the cooldown reduction to keep killing them. And against Closer, who was middle of the road last season, still trying to figure it out for the supers. But that, I don't think that one was as much his fault, I would say. So yeah, we'll see what Showmaker has in store. I'm going to add one more team here in top teams, Wolf. I can't believe I'm doing
it. I hope you're saying what different team though. I think you're gonna say. Say it.
We're gonna slide in BNK FEARX here.
I knew you were gonna say BNK. I knew you were gonna say it. BNK almost lost to Bro. BNK almost lost to Bro. BNK almost lost to Bro.
They dug out the win. They did
almost lose to Bro.
They dug out the win. They are currently undefeated because it's not Hanwha. So yeah, I think it is BNK FEARX. I don't know. Like, here's the question: what does it take for us to trust this team? For me, it's Vikla. But then I keep asking myself, Wolf, at what point, like, do we trust Vikla? Is it when he's raising the Summoners Cup in New York City in 2026? I'm like, I don't know about this Vikla guy. Is it that? Like, what does it take for us to trust Vikla?
I mean, Vikla is somewhat of an unknown quantity. Like, he has good days and bad days, right? I think when he's really feeling himself, when he's really in form, he's a very mechanically gifted player. I don't know if he's ever really going to be like the shot calling or macro mid like we've seen a lot of other mids be. He's just kind of like the hands guy. And when he gets to play champs where he can hands, even like the Galio where he had an incredible game, he does big work. Like, the Galio game kind of fell apart because there were some other issues with how they were team fighting, but he individually, in terms of like him being able to set up massive taunts, for example, was really cool. If I remember correctly, he played like the full damage build as well and just looked really, really, really awesome. But I'm more concerned about, like, what does this team do if they have to play a slow play style where Raptor doesn't necessarily get to play the aggressive, we go and we kill. He has to play like Xin Zhao, and it's like, no, I need you to like tank all the damage so that Diablo can carry this fight. Like, those are the types of drafts that are eventually going to have to play in Fearless Series, where it's going to get a little bit tougher. I don't think BNK is not a contender for Legend. Like, right now, they seem like they could be a big contender for Legend. But I also don't. If we're gonna put like an unusual team in top, can I do my like team that could maybe be considered a top team?
Sure.
DRX. Willer looking great. UCal looking really, really good. And then you have like the synergy that's been built up like seemingly through this offseason. Willer's been grinding between like Willer, the junglers, and then like Gio having his confidence back. Like, it feels like based on how Willer is playing and Gio is like following up on his engages really well, like suddenly Gio is actually just like ready to make the flashy follow-up 80 carry like burst plays, which in the past Gio was just like, I scale, when you get to the late game, like, I will team fight for you guys, but like, please don't ask me to do anything fancy before like 30 minutes. I'm just not interested in that. Post 30 minutes, the best I can give you guys is like a Zeri slide over the wall, press R, and clean up the team fight. Like, that's the most aggressive I can do. I personally would prefer, like, if I could just press Q on Smolder 4 times and get a quadra kill because the team fight was carried by my frontliners. That's usually what I'm about.
Yeah,
maybe a Neela game here or there. Okay, like, if you want me to be aggressive, pick me the noodle lady. But he's playing aggressive. He looks good. I mean, DRX's early games feel a little bit carried by the coach voice. So that's a little sussy, I suppose. But when they're being told what to do, they do the right thing. And I'm very interested to see what they can do, because they had the toughest schedule of the week. They played against T1 and Genji, almost beat Genji in the first game, and beat T1. In the series there, like, we're able to take the game, right? Like, they honestly could have beaten T1 like outright in that series. Now, T1 did run it down in the game 2 in the early game. That was a really weird drive.
Come on, man.
But like, DRX earned it, right? And then in game 3, it was 100% winnable, right? So it's like an 0-2 team that I look at and go, yeah, but that's fake. That's not real. I'm not saying I think DRX is a top 3 team or anything like that. Don't misunderstand me, but I see them as a really high potential team right now who could also be a contender for the Legend group.
I like that pick. I like that pick, but I raise you. You see my Vikla, and I raise you an Andal. Like those are two very similar perspective players of like, I don't know what it takes for me to trust Andal. I trusted Andal when I got here to the LCK, when I originally found love with the artist formerly known as Kwangdong Freaks with Leaper. But now I'm like, I don't know. I think I've seen enough of Andal. And now in those team fights, if you go back and watch the losing team fights and watch Jiwoo, he's playing out of his mind. Like Jiwoo is playing super well. I liked Willer from 2024 before he got benched for Raptor, and then we understood why. Raptor's been pretty great. And then Rich in the first game, he was in position to carry against Genji on the cannon. And then you get Yukao, who's flip. His flip is really good, but also you got to deal with some of the crazy plays. There's too much
to work on his side lane as well. Like he's getting solo killed randomly at like 20 minutes for some reason. That needs to not happen. That's kind of an issue.
Yeah, there's a little bit too much variance for me, but I like the pick because of how good Willer has been at controlling the game, been the right spot at the right time. Jiwoo, and how good Jiwoo has been, because for so many of us, we'll remember end of the season last year, Nongshim Jiwoo, who got benched and also looked just shell-shocked, almost like yelled at too much by Lance. Not saying that's what happened, but that's what it looked like. And here, he's even in the losing fights, like on the Lucian, he looked crazy good. Like I was very happy for him, and I'm happy for DRX, because this is the type of week you want to build upon. It was, we know we're going up against Genji and T1. The roster makers screwed us over. But
yeah,
let's practice our coach voice, and let's get to a point where we can play the game later on, and they were able to do that.
We had this like huge influx of challengers players when teams went budget for a while, and now some of those challenger players like Jiu are like kind of veterans. Like you don't think of Jiu as a veteran because he didn't win anything. And when you think of veterans, you think of like Keen. You're like, okay, he's been around for a really long time, and also he's won a lot of stuff now too. But like Jiu is his third year of LCK. I almost want to say it might even be his fourth year. He's been around for a really long time, and he's starting to figure it out. Like he's starting to actually understand the game more, and like understand what being a pro is, and playing with different supports and how that affects things. Like we have so many players, I think, this year who are starting to reach that almost critical mass. Like maybe it'll happen to Palu as well. Like maybe he's going to be like, oh, I kind of get it now. It happened to Peter, I feel, last year. Like he it suddenly clicked in. He's like, okay, I've been here long enough. I actually kind of get it now. I'm actually a top tier support potentially if I can put my mind to it and train the proper way, now that I understand what it means to be a pro in the LCK more. So I'm hoping that happens to Andil as well. But we'll have to wait and see. I think when it comes to like quantifying this roster, it's going to take a little bit more time. And like I will totally just take it all back if they like lose their next 3 matches against the easier opponents in the group, and we're like, oh, okay, they went 0-5, and I guess maybe like, that one time when Pays and crew ran it down was really the only reason why they took that game off T1. Like we might look back at it that way. Right now, I don't think that's true, but
no,
we'll wait and see.
But I like this. I like bringing this up of like year 3, year 4 players that we need to start looking at them that way, both give them their props because of their growth and move them from where they were at, and also hold them accountable in that they're not rookies anymore. That's why someone like Vikla, to me, right? Rookie of the year in 2022. It was only 2022, but also it was 2022. He's played around the world now. He needs to show us, is he a guy that you can build upon, or do you ship him off for money like what Bulldog was shipped off for, right? To LPL. Like you have to decide that. You have to figure that out. Same thing with Sponge. Sponge isn't just a rook anymore. Like Sponge needs to show it, and he has early on that he's been able to do it. Palu is the other one. Wheeler is another one. So these guys that have been around for a little bit, getting their second, and in like Vicla's case, 4th opportunity, they have to start showing it. Otherwise, time to bring in the young kids. And this happens every season, and it's sad to a career when it happens, but it's tougher for the team and tougher for the fan base to stay behind it when it's like, at what point do we move on? So the beginning of the year always brings that excitement to show it off. Unless you change your whole roster and it looks like there's no hope here, Wolf. Sorry, I was in the middle of my transition, but did you have something else to say before we dunk on the pros?
Let's talk about what it means when like you've been in your 3-4 year period, you haven't gotten it and you're still in the LCK, or you've lost it and you're still in the LCK, or you just aren't figuring it out, or you're on a roster where even though people respect you and you're really good and you have a large legacy, you're just not holding up with the people who are better than you these days. So you got to be on a team with 4 other players who like really don't know what's going on, like Teddy. Or like, let's say you're Dudu and it's like apparently the year of Dudu as a meme, but then you realize that actually Dudu hasn't been a top 3 top laner since 2022, and or really 2023, I guess, was the year where he was popping off. But there's like so many, when I look at the other rosters, I'm like, there's so many players here that have been around for a while that I'm like, yeah, but you didn't make it. Perfect, Palu, Dudu. I don't want to say Gideon because last year I feel like he was kind of there.
Is he early? But I mean, he spent the second half of the year just getting beaten up by Cuz, Canyon, Owner, and Peanut. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. You could throw Gideon in there. I think you throw Gideon in there.
I think when you look at like Bro putting together Roamer and Namgung, I'm like, okay, so the Hanjin deal came in a little late. Like you guys didn't. There's not talent available. Namgung playing a support should be like, it's like the canary in the coal mine, worrying sign, by the way, that there is no new support talent. I mean, I'm not even trying to like dump on Namgung. He's new. Like he's actually not that young. Like I think I'm actually gonna look it up. I want to say he's 18.
He's 22.
22? He's 20. Okay, so he's not even close to young. Like he's not even a new talent. He's 22 years old. I knew he wasn't 17. It wasn't like a new prospect, but like he's 22. And like if you're 22 and you're on this Bro roster, I'm sorry, you're probably not going to have your Delight arc. Delight had his Bro arc, okay, and he had the big glow up. I don't know if that's going to happen to him. I hope I'm wrong, but like, where is the support role? Like, where's the jungle role? Like we got Kanavi that patched the last hole. Like Vincenzo was probably like the bottom of the barrel, and Vincenzo is very good, by the way. It's actually kind of a tragedy that he doesn't get a starting spot right now. Maybe he'll find some play later on, but it's a bit concerning that Bro ends up with this lineup, especially because they shelled out money for Teddy. I mean, you have to assume, right? Like I don't think Teddy's coming in for free, basically. Teddy's not a minimum salary on this roster, but it's just a little bit sad that like KT and Bro couldn't build something more competitive. I think part of it's because we have a really tiny talent pool right now in Korea, and if you want to get Keen or Zeus or Kingen or Doran, like you have to pay a lot of money. So you end up with Perfect and Casting and Dudu and Clear. And like that's like Clear is not bad, but he's probably relatively cheap. BNK can keep this roster together. They managed to keep Raptor somehow. But we have a big divide. We've talked about this, I feel like, I don't know, 1,000 times. We have a huge divide in terms of top teams who have the money to pay for these rosters and the bottom teams that don't have like cheap talent that can become great. Like the closest we got to that was like Dplus was able to, luckily for them because they had such an insane challengers roster, they kind of got lucky. They could pull in Shiu and Lucid. Those are like the cheap at the time, relatively, compared to other top tier experienced junglers. Those are the rookies that you're like, okay, these guys can become expensive later. These guys can be the superstars later. But otherwise, we've got a talent pipeline problem and we've got a financial problem that like needs to be solved. Otherwise, we just kind of like have the LCK of our top 3.5 to 4 teams, and the other teams are just like punching bags for them. And then that's why the Rise group exists, right? Like the Rise group is a concept to try to be like, well, they can have their little tournament where it's fair for them. They're the poor teams can be over here and they can still have fun games that matter. But the rich teams are the ones that are going to Worlds and they're going to be over here. Let's segregate them. Like I think this problem has to be solved at some point. Otherwise, this league sustainability levels are dropping.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we think about the young talent, right? I feel like Chronicler is going to bust through a wall around here somewhere and be like, but the KT roster, that KT Challengers roster. Would Wolf?
Where's Dini? Where is he?
Would you rather? Would you rather have?
Good, right, Valdez?
Would you rather have Teddy and Namgung or put Hype and Way back together? And which one costs less? Probably Namgoon and Teddy, because I feel like Namgoon's paying to play. But like, I don't know. Like, we go back. Sorry, Namgoon fans. Sorry, Namgoon dad, who was in the audience
fans?
there.
I'm sorry. Are there Namgoon fans? I hope
maybe now. Maybe now. I still have to come up with a nickname for them. Like after they win. Maybe I need to come up before they win. We spam it in the chat, and then they'll beat Hanwha for sure, or KT for sure. Oh my god!
Well, it's Radical Roamer, Nuclear Namgung.
Oh yeah, because he blows everything up. I think
Gaslit Gideon.
But we just talked about it, so you know where. God, you're crushing me inside. Hype and Way are back together again to play in Turkey. They're playing together in Turkey for Misa Esports. I just wonder, like, was that not an option? Was that not a conversation? It was like, okay, we're bringing Teddy no matter what. Sorry, Hype. And then Way was like, nope, I don't want to play with Teddy. I'd rather play with Hype.
There is a non-zero chance that those players are getting paid more than Teddy and Namgoon as well. Think about that.
I don't think so.
There's a non-zero chance. There's a non-zero chance. Okay, I'm putting out. I don't know the org that you mentioned.
It's Turkey. It's the Turkish league. It's the Turkish.
I know
league.
It's in the Turkish league, but like a lot of those Turkish orgs in the past were like massive, like football orgs and stuff, and sometimes they would pay big. Like I think like Crazy went over there and ended up getting like a ton of Instagram followers because he was part of one of those massive Turkish orgs. Anyway, I'm not gonna assume that that's the case, but I think there's a chance that that's the case. Like maybe they couldn't get Hype and Way because Hype and Way were like, you know what, like I'm tired of losing the LCK. I'd like to get paid. And that's like why Zini isn't here, because he's not going to go on to. Can he replace BDD Player of the Year? No. Unless KT wanted to try to like play some Moneyball game where they're like, all right, if we sell BDD, then we keep Zini. Like maybe we can actually get a top laner now. KT's they don't play that game. They're just like, we'll have like 2 expensive players. But like, so where does Zini go? Is he gonna take Romer's spot on Bro? UCal's on an insane contract on DRX, by the way. Like he cannot, like DRX can't really get rid of him. Like that doesn't work. So like, where do you go as Zini? There is no place for you if you want to win and get paid. There is just no place for you. That is a problem. We still have some talent pipeline here in the LCK, but if you think you're good enough to compete elsewhere, why would you get dunked on by Showmaker while you're trying to develop as a player? Why would you get dunked on by Chovy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Like the rich teams will obliterate you. Even if you're better than Chovy, even if Zini is better than Chovy, which is not the case, right? But like, let's assume it was. Your team isn't better than Chovy's team, so you still can't beat him. And everyone knows you're good. All the scouts are watching you. You're going to get paid a lot. You're not going to stay here. You're going to leave. I know, I feel like we've discussed this topic to death, but like it isn't being solved. Arnold from Gen G has been talking about this problem a lot. I feel like it's something that like T1 doesn't discuss that much because they're like on the rich end and they win a lot. They keep winning the world championships. But I appreciate that Arnold is bringing this up a lot because his team is also winning a lot. But he's like, I would like it for the other teams to be competitive with us as well. And the system is broken right now. We got to figure this out. We got to figure it out. Maybe expand, like killing challengers and making the LCK like a 12-team region and getting like 10 more spots to play in. Maybe that's how you do it. I don't know. But the fact that Zini isn't playing tells you all you need to know. And that's that. Like what we're looking at the bottom teams right now this week. I'm hoping there's going to be some growth. I hope there's going to be some change, and I think there will be. I think these teams are going to get better, but there is a systematic issue that needs to be resolved. Like the Rise group memes are fun, but what if the Rise group also had elite players? That would be cool. That would be fun.
All right. The bro depression is over. It's time for predictions for next week, man. Just let's move away from this. Not even like an exciting O2, but a sad O2. The hope is Fisher comes back and he flips heads twice. And it still doesn't matter against Hanwha and KT. Well, maybe KT, but definitely not Hanwha. All right. Prediction times. Wednesday's matches. Dplus versus Nongshim. I think, seems pretty straightforward, but a little sneaky.
It's a tougher one. I think I will go Dplus because Scout still hasn't sold me yet. DRX DNS feels a lot simpler to me. I think that's definitely a DRX for me.
I don't know, man. The Super's getting a little bit of life, I think, is not unwarranted. I've told you about the coin flips that I feel with UCal and Andal. Pioshik versus Willer. I think that goes the way of Willer. I don't know, man. Did I already put it in? I should just read it off of Slack. I think I did already put it in, so I have to follow what I officially put in. I think I put in DRX. So we'll go with that, and I'll correct it as we move on. Bro, Hanwha. Oh God. Let's go Hanwha and just get that one out of the way.
Yeah, this is Hanwha Genji. Like Thursday's free. That's easy.
Yeah, that's your BNK FEARX Genji.
Prediction rate up on Thursday. Telecom War, even easier. Sorry, KT, not this time.
Not this time.
DRX though, that might actually be the match of the week.
Going back, I did put the supers, and I'm sticking with the supers.
Okay.
So over DRX. So if DRX win that, okay, they're proving it to me. KTT1 Telecom War, Nongshim DRX. So T1 over KT, Nongshim DRX.
Nongshim DRX is interesting. Like, that's that. I don't know.
We're getting closer to the more even matches, and I think
with how Gio is playing, and like how much I really don't want to trust Taeyun, I might be convinced to go DRX here.
DRX 2-0 for Wolf? Crazy.
I mean, everything I said about how I think they have the potential and all that, like I maybe I have to put my money where my mouth is and actually just like lock it in.
I think so because if me trusting BNK FEARX being a good team means that Nongshim lost to a good team, and then they were able to punch up against Hanwha, so they should be able to beat DRX, who I'm down on. So I'm going Nongshim here.
I think that like it's gonna like my biggest worry, like when I lock this in, and this is like my Monte Wolf pred. Like we'll see what my I still have like a few hours on my LCK pred. I might change my mind later, but like my biggest thing that's holding me back from like being like, yeah, I'm slamming DRX down is like Rich versus Kingen. I'm a little bit worried about that. That sounds a little bit concerning. Like Rich's engages in his team fights have been good, but sometimes Joker is like telling him like, by the way, like press W on the carry. That was like such a funny coach comm thing because everyone was like big upping that moment, and like it literally he was like, use your empowered W on the carry and start the team fight, and then like not 15 seconds later he barely is able to. He goes down to like 2% health and then like is able to get the empowered W on the carry and like they win the fight. But in sides, I'm like Kingen may just he may just destroy him. But I for the sake of Monte Wolf for this and for the sake of time, I will lock DRX for now. On Saturday we have the other banger match of the week, which is Dplus Genji, and then we have Hanwha DNS, which is an easy Hanwha lock probably. It could go 3. I could see that going 3. Like Han will have a game where Kanavi is, he's going a little too deep. Could go 3, but I think they'll probably get outclassed in the bottom lane. Dplus versus Gen G. I think you have to go Gen G just on paper. But I think if you're wrong, you really don't mind. You know, it's like, okay, well, Dplus are actually legit if they win this one. And Dplus versus Gen G has always been a good matchup, even in Dplus's worst days. They just play well against this team, so that should be a banger. But I'm gonna go Gen G.
Yeah, give me Hanwha Gen G. I mean, if Hanwha lose this to the supers, this is concerning.
Then you should worry. Yeah, then you should start worrying.
Yeah. You kind of worry a loss against Nongshim, beat the bros, which that win doesn't really do anything to you. Maybe a little bit of feel good, and then you lose against the supers. That's bad. And then we have to close out the week, T1 and the Fearless Foxes versus K, and then KT versus the Bros. This is straightforward.
That's like a day that has two pretty obvious votes. Like I'm going for the telecom teams on this one. But at the same time, I feel like that's a Sunday 6-gamer for sure. Like I feel like T1 get punished by BNK and KT just run it down one of those games and like give dGon false hope for bro. I feel like that's gonna be one of those days where I'm like, we know the ending, but like the road is gonna be bumpy.
That was the BNK FEARX match. I was like, why did you win? Why did you win that game to give us hope? If you're gonna push us to an extra game, bros, then win the series. They did not. T1 and KT, but I wouldn't be surprised if BNK FEARX. I like the anytime Diablo goes up against T1. I love that. I love seeing how they just can't bully this bot lane without help. Right? If owner comes and camps bot lane and helps out, pays and Carrier. Last year was Guma and Carrier, but then a straight up 2v2, you're not exactly sure what you're going to get out of it compared to how T1 normally feels against other like mid-range teams. You're like, all right, they'll get a lead or they'll generate something. Diablo can generate a lead and beat T1 if he gets rolling. So I think this matchup is always fun to me whenever I see it on the schedule.
When we close out this show today, we mentioned a lot. dGon already asked you guys to do it, but I do feel like I really want to know what people think about right of first selection and especially coach voice. Like I want to open the comments when this video hits and not see a bunch of Guma fans who didn't watch the episode, but instead like actual thoughtful discussion on coach voice and right of first selection, because I want to, because I feel like a lot of this is being done like for the fans, like for the content and stuff like that. And I wonder like, are those fans out there like really enjoying this? I really want to know, because everyone is just like, yeah, Wolf, like I think this is a great change. I love coach voice. I think you're being a bit of a negative Nancy on this. Then like maybe I just need to reshape my mindset on this. You know, maybe the people are like, what are you talking about? Like you can't tell if it's a R5 counter pick for Karma like when you're in the game. Like that doesn't matter to me. Or like actually you can still figure that out or whatever. I want to know what you guys think. So please put that in the comments for us.
Yeah, please let us know. It's really interesting because it just is like, all right, here we go. And I think because it's the beginning of the year for me, Wolf, I've been less, not reactive, but less in tune with like audience feedback, just kind of passively. So now we're actively asking for it here. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Oh,
and, it'll give us a good baseline to start from.
I just thought you were going to close there, so I wanted to. Sorry, I cut across, but this is the final Monte and Wolf episode, not because the show is canceled and this is our last time and you'll never hear from us again, but there will be a change on next episode. So that is why. So look forward to that as well.
A change that maybe you've been asking for about a year. Who knows? Well, I guess we'll all know next week. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, like and subscribe here on Last Free Nation so you don't miss any of our coverage throughout the year. And we'll see you for the next episode. Bye-bye.